Good evening. I'm Kathy Van Ness from the Golden Door, and we're so happy to have with us tonight Felix Lopez. I know you've spent some time with him this week and gotten to know him in Inner Wisdom Week, which is such a special week unto itself. We thought how great it would be if he could share some of his time with us. Felix is a Venezuelan-born and American-raised spiritual leader, dedicated to bringing the practical path of healing and mindfulness and meditation in an accessible way. Drawing on an eclectic background as an artist, a musician, a photographer, a pranic healer, a former Buddhist monk, Felix offers healing possibilities that tap into the creative power, which is the root to all existence. You trained at one of Thailand's most famous Buddhist temples and traveled to the northernmost provinces of Thailand, where you lived among the native hill tribe people, cultivating and refining your skills. What was that like?
Being reborn, a new kind of life, a more peaceful life, and I think that's what I was searching for. Like
Did you know that as a boy?
I think I was feeling it since I was a little kid, but I didn't know how. I didn't know how, and I grew up in a Catholic family, so my family is still Catholic, beautiful. But it was not easy. It was not easy to find a way.
Right. So did you learn about becoming a Buddhist monk from your land or from friends, or how did you find it? I mean, Thailand is far from Venezuela.
For the ones that have my book, they're gonna read about it a bit. My life before being a Buddhist monk and a healer was a totally different life. I was living I used to work on TV with models in Miami Beach. It was a little different than this.
Yeah, that would be different.
And since I was very young, I began working on TV. And basically having everything, but not feeling complete. So I'll tell you that's why this incompleteness that I was feeling is what took me to do something as radical as that, I think.
Wow. So, thinking of that, what is the most unique aspect of Buddhism?
The deep understanding that everything is changing. The deep understanding of how conditioned the mind can be. That way you can see your mental patterns, your psychological patterns that are usually what creates the trouble. Mm-hmm. To deeply understand that, to deeply understand your humanity, to deeply respect your boundaries. That's what I got from it.
That must have been quite profound for you. And did that happen at a young age?
Like I was telling you, it was happening since I was a kid.
So that's pretty profound.
Mm-hmm.
When you think about kids today and where they are at a young age, were you just so receptive or searching that
I was so very sensitive. Now I was so sensitive that I ended up being a depressed person.
Right.
Because it can happen. It can happen, and in reality, the discovery is it was not real depression. I think I was not doing what I had to do. So then when you don't do what you really have to do, what you love doing, you're gonna feel the friction.
What does it mean in today's world? Because I think there's so much change that's gone on with this. What does it mean in today's world to be a monk? Do you feel it's the same as it was in its original meaning? Has it managed to keep its historical, traditional aspects, or has it changed?
I think it's, then this is a principle of Buddhism. Everything is always changing, So it's in an evolution. It was it was a moment where to be a monk in a certain way was important to, to bring the teachings.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that, and this is the reason why I'm not in a monastery right now, being a monk limits, it can limit your access, I don't know, to have a conversation with a female alone. You cannot do that with a monk.
Oh, interesting.
And that, I found that to be a little, it's limited,
Right. Right. You couldn't really help.
Don't take me wrong.
No.
To be a monk is a beautiful,
Right.
a beautiful thing. I learned a lot
Right.
from it. My teachers, many of my teachers are monks, so I don't want them to be mad. I'm not saying
I'm sure
they have a purpose, like in any religion.
Yes.
But I think there is a big necessity to change the way spirituality is happening right now. We need it. We need change, not in all the areas.
Well, and I was going to say, religion has changed so much. Multiple religions have changed. I would imagine then Buddhism would have had to make some of those changes to be relevant as well, yes?
That's what we're doing.
Right. You'd have to. You've got to move with the people.
And I'm here with a whole bunch of
I
girls.
know, right? That's pretty different.
It's different.
So let me go back to another way to ask the question a different way. Do you have a traditional ritual that you still favor today?
I do, and I shared one of the meditations that I practice with the ladies today, and all of them, they fall in love with it. Oh. And it's a deep practice of allowing everything to be as it is, like understanding reality and understanding that I cannot be fighting reality. So that's kind of, I'm telling you the nectar of the meditation practice. I consider myself a soldier, so I need to be strong. So I practice yoga every day. Before you see me, I practice yoga and I practice my meditation.
Every day?
Every day, like a soldier.
Sundays too?
Every day.
Every day, just making sure Sundays get
Sundays are even better.
Even better.
It's important for me. I want to, the body needs to be strong for you to do certain things, so it's a responsibility.
Right. Well, I want to take you to a different place, because I think this is going to be really interesting. We give ourselves a chance to let go of all of our tension. The body's natural capacity to heal itself can begin to work, much like the animals in the forest who know this. When the animals get wounded or ill or overtired, they know exactly what to do. They find a quiet place, they lie down to rest. What happened in the evolution of man that we lost that time to reflect and calm ourselves?
In my view, it was a time that it was really hard for us as human beings to survive. Because the animals out there were really, they were not like the animals right now. Okay? That even I don't know, an elephant or a tiger, those are the
big guys.
The big guys right now. At that time, the big guys were a little bigger, So for us to be able to survive, and to cope with what was happening, we learn ways of being alert that are, believe it or not, I think they are still in our system. Why do I believe that? Sometimes, imagine, we're in a place like this one. When I'm in a place like this one, I feel like if I'm in heaven, seriously. Safe, beautiful people, beautiful energy. But I still can see some people freaking out. So it's not because of what's happening, see? It's something that the person is bringing, is wiring the person.
So what do you do to help that person, to remind them of the simpleness of getting calm?
Make them understand how those patterns work, and make them see which one of those patterns are useful. Because if they are all useful, they are fun, some of them. Not all of these patterns are about survival.
Right.
Many of them are, but not all of them are. So at least to cultivate the ones that are fun, because life is too short. Why to be repeating? Why are you going to be playing on your DVD a movie that you don't like, It makes no sense.
It makes no sense.
And it kind of works like that with this they are psychological patterns.
Right. And are you able to see that and recognize that quickly? When you speak to a guest or a person who's sort of sharing that?
It feels to me that the only way, and this is when mindfulness comes into place, if you're mindful enough, you can catch yourself before being chemically and hormonally triggered, because then it's already too late. It's like drinking, When you drink half of a bottle of vodka, you're going to be drunk even if you didn't want it to be drunk. It's a chemical process, and the body is going to have to do something with those chemicals. And inside of you is the same thing. I was talking to someone today about this. We see somebody drinking vodka or doing cocaine, and we see those chemicals, and we're like, wow, this person is doing this, Half of a bottle of vodka, not even if you don't drink, you can drink half of a bottle of vodka and you don't die. You're going to have a headache, you're going to feel intoxicated for some time, but you're not going to die. But if you take a shot of adrenaline, and you die automatically. Those drugs are produced inside the body, so nobody can see that. See? And in my view, we have like a pharmacy inside of our head, creating all these cocktails that make us feel. Every feeling you have is a cocktail of different things, a smoothie. See? Some of them have more serotonin. Some of them have more, adrenaline. Mm-hmm. Some of them, if you're a guy, they have more testosterone. It's just a mix of that, what you feel. So when you are aware of that, and that's happening to you, it's happening to everybody here. If you are conscious of that, you have the opportunity to choose. To go before the trigger and before the chemistry, see? And that's, what can I tell you? That's the difference between heaven and hell. How many times we say things that we don't want to say?
Well, and I think that takes us to an interesting place, doesn't it? A lot of times people feel they're relaxing when their minds are racing. How do we become more aware of our mind to be able to slow it down so it can actually become much more supportive and much more healthy? But even while you're busy people always tell us all the time, I just have such a hard time slowing my mind down.
No, but that didn't happen with the girls today. I've been teaching her that there is a different way.
Okay. So share that with everybody. Do you mind? I think that'd be great.
Meditation for me is not to stop something that is unstoppable. That's wasting your time. If you sit into a chair trying to stop your mind, you're just going to feel angry. It takes a little time. That's why people don't like meditating. That's why meditation is not so popular. See? It's a beautiful thing. And when I explain to you what it does to you, it's like, wow, I want to do that. But then you see it, and you have these techniques that tell you how, and then you try, then I'm going to quiet my mind. And you go like, oh, try. I got into the same trick myself, I meditated in the Himalayas, freezing, trying. And the trying, it just teaches you when you go deeper and deeper to the meditation is to deeply understand and have love and compassion for this mechanism that is inside of you, that is your mind, see? You understand that it's just trying to help you. Even if it is bothering you, it's trying to help you survive, see? That's what it does.
Interesting.
Would you learn how to create a good relationship instead of getting mad or trying to, because in reality, you're not going to be able to. If you can stop it, let me know, because you'll be my guru in a split second. I'm not kidding. I'm looking for it still. But I don't see nobody doing that. So you deeply learn that meditation cannot be a fight, see? It's actually the end of the fight. To reconciliate with yourself. When I begin to describe it, a lot of crazy things, is to create a friendship with you, see, instead of, because what happens usually is that it's consciousness fighting the chimpanzee. No, but you should do this. No. And then and that's how a normal human live. And then I fall in love with you like this, and then I love you, boom, bam, boom, boom. That's how it happened. That's how it happened. And it's true, we love the person, but we're not aware of these mechanisms. So we repeat them, and some of them are really uncomfortable.
Yeah. And I'm sure you see all around you that sometimes in life we're just trying to get through to the next thing. In our country, and I'm sure it's all countries today, but obviously I think of our own country, people are busy. Even the children are busy. And sometimes, in my opinion, I think children are over busy and overscheduled. But with the world becoming more technology driven, faster every single day, to keep up, to be average, how do you see integrating meditation, obviously through walking or stopping, but what are your concerns about the children and the fact that they're starting on equipment and technology at 5 or before?
You know, something that
are we worried that mind that's so fragile is going to be a problem?
No.
So tell us, I'd love to know about that, because it's one of the big conversations today.
No, we don't worry about that, see. I think worrying, the human beings are primate beings, you know. So we as primate, we learn repeating. So my daughter or any kid is going to repeat what it sees. So if I really want to make sure that I want my kid to learn something, I just do it myself.
Then they're mimicking you, of course.
By nature.
Right.
I don't worry about it.
Mm-hmm.
Because if I worry, and this theory is true, she or he is going to learn to worry, and I'm not interested, see? It's not about worrying. Worrying doesn't do the job. It feels like if it does something, but what it does is to make your doctor richer.
That's true.
It does.
So do you have an iPhone?
I do.
And do you have an iPad?
Yeah.
And you have you obviously put them away. You don't do not
There
like
is something called in Buddhism the middle way.
Ah, let's hear about that. Because I think that's the challenge, is putting it away.
In my house there is a rule. And everybody has access to this equipment in a moderate, for us, remember, maybe not,
Right.
we need to respect.
Yeah.
In a way that is in moderation for us. And it's from a certain time to a certain time. And there is a time that is for us to talk and stop all of it. So you feel like if you're in the 70s in the house.
Right.
Not even TV.
So how do you physically do that? Is it just it's a discipline, or you have to actually
discipline.
put away?
It's part of it.
It's part of it.
There are times. Remember, each family has to find. I cannot tell you my time because maybe it's not going to work, or you cannot tell me the time.
That's right. I understand.
We need to respect that.
Yeah.
So there is a time because I work with people all over the world, so I need to be in a computer. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure that if Jesus or the Buddha will be here, they will be using the internet, you know.
Yeah, they will be.
I totally believe
true.
that.
By the way, that is true.
So
very true.
why not to use it?
Yeah.
But I'm sure that the Buddha and Jesus would do it in a healthy way.
Right, not overtaxing themselves.
Exactly.
This is going to be an interesting question. Buddhism considers hatred and anger and violence as one of the 3 main causes of suffering, and do believe that violence cannot solve anything. And Buddhism teaches that through meditation is the proper way to end violence, is to practice calming the mind. How does Buddhism react today to provide an understanding to its people of what's happening in violence in society today?
I think the most important thing to do, and for some reason this is something that we have been talking about here in this place. Sometimes we're not aware of how violent we are with ourselves. We're always checking the violence outside. I'm gonna give you an example of something that for me is really, it's strong. Let's say that you tell me, Felix, you're eating too much sugar. It can happen. I like chocolate. And then what I do is worry about that. Instead of, it can be a blessing for you to tell me as a friend, Felix, maybe you're having too much sugar. Maybe you are an expert even. So what I do, and somebody's gonna laugh here, is that I see the M&Ms and I throw them away. I'm not saying that M&Ms are good. I'm not promoting M&Ms. What I'm telling you is that there are ways, for me, that's violent. Because it's going to be a shock for your system, see. So we need to learn that we are very violent between this, we're going to have to talk about something else. Inside of me is this big conscience, and it's all over the place. It's not just in me. It's happening all over the place. And we have these different heads, see? Is to stop the first violence that has to be stopped. Is that the violence between those two, see? Because believe it or not, the terrorist problems that we have right now, they happen because of this distortion. It's a distortion. Everybody's in that fight, and then they get hurt. They get into fear. And then, believe it or not, through that fear is how you can blow
Right.
2 big buildings.
Is there some way, I mean, the world is obviously a very large and small place at the same time. How do we, as citizens and leaders, help promote that so that we can start to share that it's
With
more
your-
than just one person
with
against
your own
another?
practice. See, because this is a quote from Felix. You cannot give, and I think you heard that before, you cannot give what you don't have. How I'm gonna, working with people in intelligence in Washington, people that work trying to solve international problems. How are you gonna come to my table to tell me how to solve my problem if you have problems in your house? With your wife, do you have problems? Do you have issues of conflict in your house, and you're gonna fix my conflict? How?
Yeah, that's it. Well, and I think that, do you see, because we are talking about meditation and mindfulness much more today, I think, than we've ever did.
Things are changing.
Don't you think? And do you think that if a larger percentage of people actually stopped and meditated and became more mindful, wouldn't that just change the planet to a much kinder place?
Without wanting to change the neighbor.
Right, without wanting to change the neighbor, of course. But it would it not? Right, I would think so. You kind of answered my own question there.
Because the mind always tries to change, it's always someone else's fault, see, automatically. It's never me, it's you. Yeah. I'll be happy when you, that's how we live, see. Yeah. And that's why we're so unhappy. What will happen if we fall in love and I don't have to change you? And I just cultivate who you are. It's a totally different way of falling in love.
It would be perfect.
With no people I get married with you because I want you to look like my grandma.
No. Well,
that's a big expectation.
That's a big expectation. So what is your, I want to go back to one of the questions I had before when we talked about your own practice. Are you balanced in how you manage your life today? I mean, you're someone we look at that's like such an expert, Felix, in this world. Are you yourself balanced? Are we ever always balanced?
What is balance?
I know, I'm asking, I say, yeah, that's my question.
Because this is what is interesting. See, balance for me maybe is not balance for you.
Do you find, you're this calming, incredible persona? Do you ever get like angry?
So many people ask me this question.
I know, right? Or
Every-
like stomp your feet and say, "Oh my gosh, no way." That's not, like
E-
everybody does at one time.
Every action that is my responsibility has to have at the end the feeling of peace. You need to understand in the process that can make some people get really mad. That's the problem, see. For example, as a father, sometimes, and I'm sure you guys know about this, sometimes it's not enough to say, "Baby, please don't touch my computer."
In your most peaceful way.
Sometimes it doesn't work.
Right. So then what's next?
The human experience, see. Because people think that when you're awakened, whatever that means, nothing happened. And some people think that I'm always levitating in my room.
Exactly. Exactly. I mean,
We're humans.
I know you have children. I mean, sometimes they make
and sometimes I get mad as you do.
Right. You're still kind-hearted and loving.
As much as possible.
Exactly. I have children as well.
But really, as much as I can, to the point that if something goes wrong, I'm in peace. Because I did what I had to do.
Do they know that you mean business if your voice gets quieter or louder?
This guy that you see in front of you
Yeah.
is a lion that was tamed. So when the lion happened, it happened. Like you.
Do you have one particular great story about some work you've done that you would love to share? Or, obviously you would never give away the client's name, but something that's to this day sticks out in your mind of something that was so special that you were able to accomplish?
There's so many.
I know, it would be hard to pick one. Do you have one, though, that comes to mind? Something that moved your heart?
Maybe, and this happened many times, but maybe these moments where the parents, when a mom told me, I don't know, Felix, thank you for giving my kids back a mom.
By solving, helping her.
It's big, because everything happened in the family, see.
Do you find yourself sometimes seeing one member of the family, or do you see them all, or all at one time, or do you find it's mostly one at a time?
People that are usually around me are the people that are in evolution, and they are usually females.
Is that right?
I think so.
Why is that?
This is a very personal
That's okay.
thing. I think it's time for the world to be in the hands of the females again. Because the problem we're having is because we gave too much power to the guys, and I'm a guy.
It's true, there's a lot of conversation about the nurturing side of the woman is what the world needs to heal. So you see that from your side as well then? Do you have male clients obviously as well as female clients?
They are beautiful too, don't
No,
you
of
think?
course. No, of course. You must find though that the persona is quite different.
It's different. Again,
Is the approach different?
through the work is the
Yeah,
same
it's
thing.
the same.
It's the same
Okay.
thing.
Okay.
Again, there are some guys there is a group of guys that are my students, or they come and see me as well. But the majority are females that they are eager for change. I don't know. It's global, and you are in India and you feel that, It's happening. It's happening.
Does your whole family meditate? Do your children meditate?
I was telling someone that last year in school, she told the teacher that she wanted to be the meditation teacher in the school. And the teacher, but look at, this is, you know, this is America. The teacher called me worry about it.
No. Why? Well, she should be proud. The fact that she was so proud of her spiritual side.
She understood, and we made the class happen.
Yeah.
But again, love and compassion.
Yeah, yeah.
Remember, I live in the mountains. It's a very open-minded place, but it's
Yeah,
the
no.
mountains.
You know, I think that also takes us to a unique spot as well, and that is that you think about meditation in school, which probably would not be not a good thing. I think it would actually be a good thing. But there's a lot of conversation today about meditation and mindfulness in the workplace. And how do we add that to workplaces to not only be healthier, but more mindful of our work, more mindful of other people? Do you see that happening more? It's very hard for big corporations to even have this conversation.
Don't you find to be interesting that we met in a summit in Morocco?
Yeah, I do. I thought that was, yeah.
So, and look,
Yeah.
we're having the
I
conversation
know, right? I know.
in a place like this, and I find that to be the proof.
So,
I think
but do you think that the bigger companies will be able to take that on? Because I think we are naturally spiritual here and looking for these spiritual guiders to sort of
They
help
have
us.
to.
Don't you think so today? They have to.
If they
their
don't-
employees are going to be unhealthy.
If they don't, and I think they are beginning to acknowledge that. If they don't, somehow it's going to be destroyed.
Right.
So
Do you ever get to go into big companies?
sometimes, yeah.
Is it harder in those kinds of environments than a smaller environment?
For me or for them?
For them. I would think for them. Because they'd have to open. It's sort of different to open here because we're like one. When we're all come together on Sundays, it's such a power during the week of how we move together. But in a big company, are people afraid to sort of let go?
It's you know, the energy is definitely a different energy. Yeah. It's more defensive. It's more what I think. But I think the model is changing. You know, and just when they invite me to those places, you know, and what they see happening, because what is very interesting is that usually the owners of the places don't understand the power that is going to have financially.
Better, happier people, happier employees.
Better workers,
Right, better
less
homes.
headache for them,
Yeah.
and that means
Better
profit
homes,
for them.
that's right.
You know, and they are beginning, even if it is through that lens, they are beginning to understand that if they don't, it's not a good idea financially.
How would you define, this is going to be that age-old question, the first time I'm saying it's going to be a hard question to answer, how do you define happiness in your world today? I mean, it's on, I can't tell you how many books we get sent to us each week to read about happiness.
Okay, I'm gonna give you Felix's version. And you guys don't keep it in your head, keep it in your heart. Happiness is a chemical phenomenon that happens to a human being. Let's study the phenomenon to understand what happiness is. Let's say that you always wanted these Armani glasses. And today I come and I give them to you. How do you feel?
Very happy.
How would you feel? You'll feel happy.
Of course.
Why?
Because they're cool.
They are cool, I agree with that.
And you gave them to me.
But why this person is happy?
It feels good to have someone think of something nice of you.
That's the lie. See?
Oh, it feels good to have someone do something nice for you.
She,
Is that not real?
the reality is that we are trained to believe that we are happy because we get what we want. See, I get what I want. I get what I want. So that creates a chemistry. But what was a mind-blowing thing for me to understand is, and remember, I'm the son of a chemist, so I'm very into chemistry. Why the person is so happy or get this chemistry? Because of this, you know, it's just glasses. And what was discovered is that you get happy is not because you get what you want. The reason why you get so happy is because when you have that, you don't want anything else. That's why you're happy. So happiness comes, this chemistry happened to you, in the moment where you don't want anything.
No, because now you're satisfied.
You don't want,
You don't even want.
because you got, that's what happened. It's backwards to what we believe.
Very
This is a biggie.
It's a biggie.
You asked a biggie, so.
Of course. That was one of my hard ones. I was telling you, I had a few hard
And
ones.
everybody's looking at this backwards.
I know. It's a huge conversation.
And I'm gonna be happy when, and remember, this one thing can be a human being, can be a job, can be looking in a certain way, being sexy. I mean, you name it, chocolate, pizza, the beautiful spa in China, whatever that is. And then the problem that creates is that it creates this emotion of I'm gonna be happy when.
So your advice would be on the answer to that is, how then do you achieve happiness?
You don't seek happiness.
So what's the answer to what is the answer then? That's the answer that so many people have. It seems like it's not answerable,
It's kind of hard
right?
because it's a feeling, see?
Right.
It's a
hard.
feeling that is indescribable. It's peace.
Yeah.
It's more peace than, and we confuse this peace, we humans, we confuse this peace with pleasure, see? The mind wants the pleasure, and that's natural, that's beautiful, you know, and avoids pain. But there is something inside of you that just want to be in peace. And when you are there, that's happening.
Each week when we finish the last question of our guest speakers is always the same. For those of you who've seen me so many times now, I think that you might know this question, and Felix is going to get it for the first time. It's the golden nugget question of what is the golden nugget you could leave my guest tonight. First of all, I'm so happy you're here. You know, we talked, I think, 2 years ago in Morocco, and I'm just so glad you could make the time to come and spend with us this week. But I would love for you to give our guest a golden nugget they could take home with them.
One more? I
One
think you
more
guys
golden
have a
nugget.
few. Don't you think? Honestly. You have a few, so I have to think about another one.
Yeah, we like a lot of golden nuggets.
In the priorities of life, when you put them into numbers, you know, if you are not in the list, in the 3 first numbers, you got it wrong. Because sometimes, for being good, and this is how we disrespect ourselves, we put other people in those places, and that's the best way for us to get sick.
That's a pretty good golden nugget.
Do you guys like that one?
What do you think, huh? Yeah. Thank you so much, everybody, for sharing our wonderful guest tonight, Felix Lopez.